The apartment was eerily silent, except for the sound of a child's soft sobbing in the corner. Mia stood in the doorway, her body trembling with anger and fear. Her ex-husband Ryan had just stormed out, slamming the door behind him, leaving a trail of shattered promises in his wake. In her arms, she held their 6-year-old son, Ethan, tightly, as though shielding him from the world they no longer understood. Ryan's last words still echoed in her ears. "You'll never keep him, Mia. The courts will see you for what you really are, a failure." She felt the sting of his betrayal all over again. It wasn't the first time he had used their son against her, but it was the first time she realized how far he was willing to go. Mia's heart raced, the weight of the situation crashing down on her. This wasn't just a fight for custody. It was a battle for Ethan's future, and she would do whatever it took to protect him, even if it meant exposing parts of herself she had buried long ago. Mia glanced over at the door, hearing the faint sirens in the distance, as though they were a reminder of how much more she was about to lose. There was no turning back now. The moment had arrived. The days following the confrontation with Ryan felt like a blur. Mia's thoughts were consumed with the looming custody battle. Every step she took, every decision she made was now for Ethan's future. She couldn't afford to falter, the stakes were too high. The battle for custody wasn't just about their son. It was about keeping him safe from the chaos Ryan had created in their lives. Mia went through the motions of daily life, keeping up appearances for Ethan's sake. But inside she was a whirlwind of emotions, fear, guilt, anger. The weight of her past hung heavily on her. She had never anticipated that Ryan would come back into their lives this way, fighting dirty and using their son as leverage. Every phone call, every text from Ryan was a reminder of what he was willing to do to win. Her best friend, Jenny, was her rock during these days. "You've got this, Mia. You're strong. You've already fought harder than most people ever will. Just remember why you're doing this," Jenny said one afternoon as they sat together in the kitchen, cups of tea in hand. "I just don't know if I'm enough," Mia confessed, her voice breaking as she wiped away a tear. "I've given up everything for Ethan, but it feels like it's never enough." The battle for custody began in earnest. Mia stood outside the courtroom, her heart pounding as she glanced at the door. She could hear the voices of her lawyer and Ryan's attorney discussing the case inside, but Mia couldn't make out the words. The thought of what was at stake for Ethan made her stomach twist in knots. Her mind kept flashing back to the day she met Ryan. Back then, everything had seemed perfect. But time and betrayal had worn away the man she once loved, revealing someone selfish and manipulative. And now, that man was fighting to take Ethan away from her. "I'll do whatever it takes to protect you, Ethan," Mia whispered, her resolve hardening as she straightened up. This was her fight. She wasn't going to lose. The courtroom was colder than Mia had imagined. The air was thick with tension as both sides presented their arguments. Mia's lawyer spoke confidently, but Ryan's lawyer was ruthless, painting Mia as unstable, emotionally compromised, and unfit to raise Ethan. Each word cut deeper than the last. Mia clenched her fists under the table, trying to stay calm. She knew Ryan's tactics would be dirty, but hearing them in front of a judge felt like a betrayal all over again. He didn't care about Ethan, he cared about winning. Mia was determined to prove him wrong. After the hearing, she was exhausted, emotionally drained. Jenny stood by her side, offering silent support. "You're stronger than you think, Mia. This is just the beginning." Mia nodded, but inside, she was afraid. How much longer could she keep fighting? The days following the hearing were filled with uncertainty. Mia kept herself busy with work and spending time with Ethan, but she couldn't stop thinking about the custody battle. Ryan had pulled every string he could, but Mia had the one thing he could never take away: her love for Ethan. One night, as Mia tucked Ethan into bed, he looked up at her with sleepy eyes and said, "Mommy, I don't want to leave you. I want to stay with you forever." Mia's heart clenched. She kissed him gently on the forehead. "I'm going to fight for us, Ethan, I promise." The promise she made to him would be the fuel she needed to keep going. She wasn't just fighting for herself, she was fighting for him. The courtroom battles continued, each one feeling more like a personal attack than a legal proceeding. Mia was beginning to feel the toll on her, mentally, physically, and emotionally. Ryan was relentless, using every opportunity to twist the truth and paint her as unfit. The lies he spun were hurtful, but they only made Mia more determined to fight for Ethan's future. She couldn't let him win. Not after everything she had sacrificed. Her lawyer James was confident, but Mia could sense his frustration growing. "Mia, we need more evidence. The more we can show the court that Ryan is manipulating the situation, the better chance we have," James advised one afternoon. Mia nodded. The stakes had never been higher. "I'm willing to do whatever it takes," she said, her voice filled with resolve. But deep down, she feared what Ryan would do next. He was willing to go to any lengths to tear their family apart. Mia's search for more evidence led her to an old friend, Jenna, who had worked with Ryan before their divorce. Jenna had always kept a low profile after the separation, but Mia knew she might be able to help. "Jenna, I need your help," Mia said, her voice pleading as they met in a quiet cafe. "I need anything you know about Ryan, anything that can show he's been dishonest with the court." Jenna hesitated. She had always been loyal to Ryan, but Mia could see the doubt in her eyes. "Mia, I don't know if I can. Ryan's got connections everywhere, and I'm not sure how far he'll go to protect his reputation." "I don't care about his reputation," Mia responded firmly. "I care about Ethan. Please, Jenna, for Ethan's sake. I need to know the truth." After a long pause, Jenna finally nodded. "I'll see what I can find. But Mia, be careful. Ryan's not someone you want to cross." A few days later, Jenna came through with a crucial piece of evidence. A series of emails showing that Ryan had been hiding financial assets and attempting to manipulate the custody case by falsely portraying Mia's financial instability. It was the break Mia needed. As she reviewed the documents, Mia's emotions ranged from anger to relief. "This is it," she whispered to herself. "This is the proof we need." But the victory felt fleeting. As she prepared to present the evidence to her lawyer, Mia received another call. It was from Ryan's lawyer, a sharp, unyielding woman named Jessica. "Mia, you know the consequences of presenting false information in court," Jessica said coldly. "You should think carefully before you act." The threat was clear. Ryan was not above using every trick in the book to intimidate Mia into backing down. But Mia couldn't give in now. She had Ethan to think about. With the new evidence in hand, Mia presented it to James. The courtroom battle was heating up, and Mia's confidence began to grow. But Ryan wasn't giving up without a fight. He started using more underhanded tactics, questioning her parenting, bringing up her past mistakes. Every part of her was under scrutiny, but the worst part was the toll it took on Ethan. One afternoon, after a particularly grueling session in court, Mia found Ethan sitting quietly on the stairs, his eyes filled with worry. "Mommy, is it true that I might have to live with Daddy?" he asked, his small voice cracking. Mia knelt down in front of him, cupping his face in her hands. "Ethan, listen to me. I'm fighting for you. You're not going anywhere. I promise you that." But inside, Mia's heart shattered. How much longer could she protect him from this nightmare? As she looked into her son's innocent eyes, she realized that every decision she made from this point forward had to be for him, no matter what. The courtroom drama reached its peak as both sides presented their final arguments. Mia sat in the gallery, her stomach in knots, her eyes fixed on the judge. The last few weeks had drained her, but she knew the fight wasn't over. The decision would change everything for her and Ethan. As the judge asked for closing statements, Mia stood up, her voice steady but full of emotion. "Your Honor, I have fought for my son's future. I've done everything in my power to give him a stable and loving home. I am not perfect, but I am his mother, and I will always be here for him. Please, don't take him from me." Ryan's lawyer countered with accusations of Mia's past mistakes and her financial instability, but Mia stood firm, her heart pounding with every word the judge said. The decision was imminent, and Mia knew that no matter what happened, This battle had already changed her forever. She had fought with everything she had. Now, it was up to the judge. The judge's decision was a devastating blow. Mia sat in the courtroom, her heart racing as the words she had dreaded hearing echoed in her ears. The court grants joint custody, with primary physical custody to the father, Ryan. Her mind went numb. She had fought so hard, fought against Ryan's manipulation, against her past, against everything that seemed determined to keep her from Ethan. But now, her greatest fear had come true. She had lost. As the gavel fell, Mia's world seemed to shatter. She turned to look at Ethan, sitting quietly in the back with Jenny, his innocent eyes filled with confusion. He didn't understand the gravity of what had just happened, but Mia did. She had just lost her son. For now. "I won't give up on you, Ethan," Mia whispered to herself. The words a vow. She would appeal, she would fight until she couldn't anymore, but she knew it would take everything she had to win him back. The days following the ruling felt like a blur. Mia spent hours with her lawyer, James, discussing the possibility of an appeal, but the chances of success seemed slim. Ryan had the upper hand, and the legal system was a labyrinth that Mia felt lost in. But Mia wasn't one to give up easily. Even though the court had made its decision, she wasn't willing to accept it. "I'm not giving up," Mia declared to James one afternoon. "I'll find a way to prove that I'm the better parent. I'll do whatever it takes." James, who had become more than just her lawyer over the months, looked at her with a mix of admiration and concern. "Mia, you've already fought so hard, but this battle is far from over. Just be careful. There are forces at play that are bigger than just the two of you." Mia nodded, though a part of her was beginning to wonder how much longer she could keep fighting without losing herself in the process. But Ethan was worth it. He always had been. Mia spent the next few weeks in a haze of paperwork, phone calls, and meetings with experts. She hired a private investigator to gather evidence of Ryan's manipulative behavior, hoping to strengthen her case. But as the weeks passed, Mia found herself questioning everything. Her fears intensified when she received an unexpected call from Ethan's school. "Mia, we've noticed some changes in Ethan's behavior," the school counselor said. "He seems withdrawn, anxious. We think he might need some professional help." The words hit Mia like a punch to the gut. Ethan, her strong, vibrant boy, was showing signs of distress. She knew that the custody battle was taking its toll on him, but she hadn't realized how deeply it was affecting him. That evening, as she sat next to Ethan's bed, she kissed him on the forehead. "I'm sorry, baby. I'm doing everything I can," she whispered, her voice barely audible. The weight of guilt pressed down on her. Was she making the right decision for him? Or was she driving a wedge between them? A week later, Mia's worst nightmare came to life. Ryan showed up at her apartment, unannounced, with a lawyer in tow. "Mia, I've decided to take Ethan for the weekend," Ryan said, his voice cold and final. Mia's stomach dropped. "You can't just take him, Ryan. You don't have the right to do that." But Ryan was relentless. "The court's given me custody, Mia. I'm taking him. You're just delaying the inevitable." Ethan, who had been playing quietly in his room, walked into the living room, sensing the tension. "What's going on, Mommy?" His innocent question pierced Mia's heart. "Go to your room, Ethan," Mia said gently, trying to hide the panic in her voice. But he didn't move. "Ethan, please go to your room." Ryan's lawyer stepped forward. "Mia, we have legal documents. You can't stop this." Mia's heart pounded as she glanced at Ethan, whose eyes were filled with confusion and fear. She had to act, and she had to act fast. As Ryan left with Ethan in tow, Mia felt her world collapse around her. She couldn't let him take Ethan like this, not without a fight. But what could she do? The court had spoken, and Ryan was using the law to his advantage. That night, as Mia sat alone in her apartment, a message came through from Jenny. "Mia, I've been thinking. There's someone who might be able to help you. A private investigator I know. He's worked on custody cases before, and he's good at digging up the truth." Mia's heart lifted, even if just a little. "I'll take any help I can get," Mia texted back. The feeling of helplessness that had plagued her all week began to recede. replaced by a flicker of hope. There was still a chance. As the days passed, Mia continued to fight, not just for herself, but for Ethan. She knew the battle wasn't over. It was just beginning. The days dragged on, each one feeling longer than the last. Mia's apartment was a quiet place of refuge, yet the silence felt suffocating. She had spent hours on the phone with her lawyer, gathering information and preparing for her next move. But it wasn't just the legal fight that weighed heavily on her mind, it was the toll it was taking on Ethan. Every time he came back from spending time with Ryan, he seemed quieter, more withdrawn. The spark in his eyes was dimming, and Mia could feel her connection with him slipping. She knew Ryan was using their son to hurt her, but she never thought it would affect Ethan like this. One afternoon, as Mia watched Ethan play in the living room, she saw him pause for a moment, staring at his toys in silence. Then, without warning, he looked up at her and asked, "Mommy, do you think I'm bad?" Mia's heart broke. How could he possibly think that? "No, baby, no," she whispered, rushing to kneel beside him. "You're not bad. You're the best thing in my life, and nothing will ever change that." But deep down, Mia knew that the emotional scars of this battle would last far beyond the courtroom. Mia's desperation led her to a new plan. She decided to take a more aggressive approach in court. With the help of the private investigator, she had gathered new evidence, some of which showed Ryan's lack of involvement in Ethan's life before the custody battle began. The investigator had also uncovered some financial discrepancies, suggesting that Ryan had been hiding assets, possibly in an effort to avoid paying child support. Mia felt the weight of these revelations, but she also saw them as her best chance to turn the tide. She couldn't just wait around and hope the system worked in her favor. She had to take action. The next day, she met with James, her lawyer, to strategize. "We need to expose Ryan for what he really is," Mia said, her voice filled with newfound determination. "I won't let him do this to Ethan anymore." James nodded. "You're right. We have to play this carefully. If we reveal too much too soon, it could backfire. But we'll use this new evidence to build a stronger case." Mia knew the risks. But she also knew that if she didn't act now, she might lose everything. The battle in court was about to escalate. Mia could feel the pressure building as the date of the next hearing approached. She knew that Ryan would fight even harder now that she had exposed some of his lies, and she wasn't sure how far he would go to make sure he won. That night, Mia lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. The weight of her choices and the fear of losing Ethan consumed her. She had always been so focused on surviving, on making sure they had a home, food, and safety. But now, she had to make sure Ethan could grow up in a stable, loving environment. And that meant she had to defeat Ryan, no matter the cost. Suddenly, there was a soft knock at her door. It was Jenny, standing with a bag of takeout and a comforting smile. "I figured you might need a break," Jenny said, setting the food down on the kitchen table. Mia smiled weakly. "Thanks, I don't know what I'd do without you." "I've got your back, Mia," Jenny said, sitting down next to her. "Whatever happens, we'll get through this. You're doing the right thing for Ethan." Mia took a deep breath, her eyes filled with gratitude. She wasn't alone in this fight. She had her son, her friends, and the strength to keep going. The hearing arrived, and Mia felt every moment of it. Ryan was smug, confident that the court would rule in his favor. His lawyer, Jessica, was just as ruthless, attacking Mia's credibility at every turn. Mia fought back with everything she had, presenting the evidence and fighting for her son. But in the midst of the courtroom drama, Ryan pulled a shocking move. He accused Mia of being unstable, bringing up old, unsubstantiated claims about her mental health, claims he knew would shake the court's perception of her. Mia's heart pounded as she listened, but she refused to let it break her. She had already been through so much in her life, and this was just another test. "That's not true," she said, her voice steady but firm. "I've never been anything but a loving mother to Ethan." The judge paused for a moment, his gaze lingering on Mia before turning to Ryan. "I'm taking all the evidence into account. We'll reconvene in 2 weeks for a final decision." Mia left the courtroom, her head spinning with the weight of what had just happened. Ryan had made things personal. But Mia knew she had to stay strong, for Ethan's sake. The waiting period between the hearings was unbearable. Every day felt like a test. Mia had to prepare herself for the worst, but she clung to the hope that the truth would prevail. One evening, after yet another grueling day at work and a stressful meeting with her lawyer, Mia found Ethan sitting at the kitchen table, quietly drawing. "Hey, buddy," Mia said softly, sitting down beside him. "What are you drawing?" Ethan looked up, his eyes filled with sadness. "I'm drawing us," he said, showing her a picture of two figures holding hands. "Mommy, I want us to stay together. I don't want to go to Daddy's." Mia's heart broke, but she smiled. "We will, Ethan. We will stay together. I promise." As she looked at the picture, a surge of determination filled her. This battle was far from over, but she had something worth fighting for, something more precious than anything Ryan could take from her. The weeks dragged on, each day feeling like a lifetime. Mia couldn't escape the constant feeling of impending doom as the final court date neared. Ryan had been relentless, using every tactic at his disposal, and Mia had already lost so much. The idea of losing Ethan was more than she could bear. One evening, as Mia sat on the couch with Ethan, he curled up beside her, his small body trembling with a mix of fear and uncertainty. "Mommy, will I have to leave you?" Ethan asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Mia hugged him tightly, fighting back the tears. "No, baby, you won't leave me. I'll never let you go." Her words were more of a promise than a reassurance. Mia had been preparing for this battle for months, but hearing those words from Ethan's lips tore her apart. She knew it wasn't just her future on the line, it was his too. But no matter what, she wasn't giving up. She would keep fighting for him. Mia's lawyer, James, had good news. After reviewing the latest evidence, he felt confident they had a strong case. But Ryan wasn't going down without a fight. His attorney, Jessica, had already begun discrediting Mia, questioning her emotional stability, and accusing her of being an unfit mother. Mia knew this was coming, but the emotional toll was still overwhelming. "James, what if it's not enough?" Mia asked, her voice shaking as they sat in his office. "What if the judge doesn't see the truth? What if I lose Ethan?" James placed a hand on hers, offering a reassuring smile. "Mia, you've been through so much, but your love for Ethan is undeniable. You've been the one raising him, fighting for him every step of the way. You've done everything right. Now we'll show the court that he belongs with you." But even as James spoke, Mia couldn't shake the fear gnawing at her. What if everything she had done wasn't enough? The final day in court had arrived. Mia, dressed in her best suit, the one that made her feel confident, though she could hardly stop shaking. She had spent the night before reviewing her notes, rehearsing her words, and preparing herself for the fight of her life. The courtroom was packed, and the tension in the air was palpable. Ryan sat across from her, his face cold and unreadable. He looked calm, but Mia could see the subtle smirk playing at the corner of his mouth. He thought he had already won. As the judge called the court to order, Mia's heart raced. She stood up to give her closing statement, her hands trembling as she approached the stand. But as she looked out at the judge, she knew she had one chance to make her voice heard. "Your Honor, I've done everything in my power to provide a stable and loving home for my son," Mia said, her voice steady despite the nerves flooding her. "I've sacrificed everything for Ethan, and I'm asking you to please let him stay where he belongs, with me." Her words hung in the air, heavy with emotion. She had laid everything on the line. Now, all she could do was wait. As Mia sat down, the silence in the courtroom felt deafening. Ryan's lawyer had spoken last, presenting their final arguments, but Mia felt as though the weight of the world was on her shoulders. She had given everything, her heart, her soul, her every ounce of strength, into this battle for Ethan. The judge deliberated for what felt like an eternity. Mia's mind raced. Was she about to lose him? Was she about to lose everything? Finally, the judge spoke. "I've reviewed the evidence, the testimonies, and the circumstances surrounding this case. After careful consideration, I have made my decision." Mia held her breath, her entire body tense. This was it. The court rules in favor of the mother, Mia Hart, the judge announced. Ethan will remain in her custody, with shared legal responsibility between both parents. Tears welled up in Mia's eyes as a wave of relief washed over her. She had won. After everything she had been through, after all the pain and uncertainty, she had finally succeeded in keeping Ethan. But as Mia looked across the room at Ryan, she knew this battle was far from over. Ryan wouldn't give up so easily, and there was still a long road ahead. But for now, Ethan was safe. And that was all that mattered. Mia drove home that day with Ethan by her side, a feeling of peace finally settling in her heart. As they pulled into the driveway, she turned to him and smiled, her heart full. "You're staying with me, Ethan. I promised you that, and I always keep my promises." Ethan smiled back, a spark of joy returning to his eyes. "We're going to be okay, Mommy. We're going to be better than okay," Mia said softly, kissing him on the forehead. "We're going to be stronger." That evening, as the sun set and the world seemed to calm, Mia and Ethan sat together on the couch. Ethan curled up beside her, his head resting on her shoulder as she stroked his hair. For the first time in a long time, Mia felt truly at peace. "I love you, Mommy," Ethan whispered, his voice sleepy and content. "I love you too, baby. Always." It had been a few weeks since the court ruling, and Mia was slowly starting to feel like she could breathe again. She had her son. She had her life back. But the lingering feeling that Ryan would never truly accept the court's decision was still there, gnawing at her. Every time the phone rang, Mia's heart skipped a beat. Was it him? Was he going to try to take Ethan again? How? Mia knew it wasn't over. Ryan had made it clear that he wouldn't let the ruling stand without a fight. One afternoon, while Mia was picking Ethan up from school, she received an unexpected message, an invitation to meet with Ryan. Her heart pounded as she read the words. He wanted to talk, to negotiate. Mia's first instinct was to decline, to ignore him completely, but then she remembered Ethan. Would this be a chance to work things out peacefully? Or was it another trap? "Mommy, who are you texting?" Ethan's voice interrupted her thoughts. "It's nothing, sweetie," Mia said, putting the phone down. "Let's go home." But she couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that settled in her chest. Mia didn't know what to expect when she walked into the cafe where Ryan had requested the meeting. She had prepared herself for another round of accusations, but this time she was determined not to be intimidated. Ryan sat at a corner table, looking much calmer than she had anticipated. His demeanor was almost cordial, which sent a cold shiver down her spine. "Thanks for meeting with me, Mia," Ryan said, his tone almost too pleasant. "I know things have been difficult, but I want to make sure we're doing what's best for Ethan." Mia could sense the underlying manipulation in his words. "I'm not here to discuss anything with you unless it's about Ethan," she replied sharply. "You've had your chances, Ryan." Ryan leaned forward slightly, his eyes narrowing. "I just want to make sure we're both on the same page," he said, his voice taking on a more serious tone. "I'm not going to let you control everything. Ethan is my son too." Mia's pulse quickened. "He's not a pawn in your game, he's my son, and I will do whatever it takes to protect him." Ryan smirked, standing up to leave. "We'll see about that." After the meeting, Mia felt a strange mix of dread and determination. She knew that Ryan wasn't going to back down. His words, though coated in charm, had revealed his true intentions. He wasn't interested in co-parenting. He was interested in control. Mia spent the next few days in a blur of meetings, phone calls, and preparations. She'd hired a new lawyer to bolster her case, someone who specialized in protecting mothers in custody battles. Together they reviewed the evidence she had gathered, from Ryan's manipulative behavior to his attempts to turn Ethan against her. Despite the progress, Mia felt like she was carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. The fear of losing Ethan again loomed over her like a dark cloud. Every phone call, every email from Ryan's lawyer chipped away at her confidence. One evening, after a particularly draining day, Mia sat down to dinner with Ethan. His laughter filled the room as he told her about his day at school, and for a moment, everything felt normal again. She smiled, but inside, the fear gnawed at her. "I love you, Mommy," Ethan said, his voice full of innocence and love. "I love you more, baby," Mia whispered, her heart swelling with love for him. But the reality of the fight they still had to face settled in her chest. Days turned into weeks, and the legal proceedings continued to drag on. Ryan's lawyer was relentless, and despite Mia's best efforts, she felt the weight of the fight pulling her under. But then, just when she was starting to lose hope, an unexpected ally reached out. It was her estranged father, who she hadn't spoken to in years. He had heard about the custody battle, and, after much thought, decided to offer his help. "I know I've let you down before, Mia," he said over the phone, his voice full of regret. "But I want to help you fight this. I know how important Ethan is to you." Mia was taken aback. After all these years, her father was offering to help her. She wasn't sure how to feel about it, but his support was something she desperately needed. "Thank you," she said quietly. "I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Just know that I'm here for you, for Ethan." That night, Mia thought about her father's offer. Maybe, just maybe, she didn't have to do this alone. With her father's unexpected support, Mia began to feel a renewed sense of strength. They spent the next few days together, reviewing the case and brainstorming strategies. Mia had never imagined that her father would become part of this fight, but as she looked at him, she realized that maybe it was time to heal some of the wounds between them. As the final court date loomed, Mia knew she had done everything in her power. She had fought for Ethan, and now, she had the support of people who truly cared. But the weight of the battle was still heavy on her heart. Ryan's refusal to give up on winning Ethan's love was a constant reminder of how much he was willing to destroy. But Mia was ready. She had Ethan. And in the end, that was all that mattered. The final hearing was here. Mia, surrounded by her lawyer James and her estranged father, felt the weight of the moment. Ryan sat across from her, his confidence unshaken. James gave his closing argument. "Mia Hart is a dedicated mother who has proven her stability. Ethan belongs with her." Mia stood and spoke directly to the judge, her voice firm. "I may not be perfect, but my love for Ethan is unconditional. I am his mother, and I will always fight for him." The judge nodded, considering the evidence. Mia's heart raced, waiting for his decision. The judge deliberated, then delivered the verdict. "Custody will remain with the mother, Mia Hart. The father will have supervised visitation." Mia's breath caught in her throat. She had won. Ryan's face twisted in fury, but for the first time in months, Mia felt a sense of peace. She left the courthouse with her father, feeling a weight lift off her shoulders. Ethan would stay with her. They could finally begin to heal. Later that evening, Mia sat with Ethan on the couch. "Mommy, will we be okay now?" Ethan asked. "Yes, baby," Mia said softly, her heart full. "We're going to be okay." With the court battle behind them, Mia knew that their life together, while still uncertain, was now theirs to rebuild. The road ahead wasn't easy, but Mia knew she had the strength to face whatever came next. She had Ethan, her father's unexpected support, and a future where she could finally provide the stability they both needed. Mia looked at Ethan and whispered, "We're stronger now, baby." Later that night, as Mia tucked Ethan into bed, she kissed him on the forehead. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too, Mommy," Ethan murmured. And for the first time in months, Mia felt peace settle over her. The fight had been long, but they were finally home.